Hi, and welcome to my channel.
So I have already opened these just to see exactly what was in here, what kind of colors I'm looking at, stuff like that. For instance, I don't have a yellow in here, so I had to plan ahead with that. But for today's video, it's just going to be this palette. The rest of the month is going to be the rest of the items. But for right now, I just wanted to open this up again. I just taped down here so you can kind of see what's in here. So I've got the makeup sticks. It's gonna be this, the cream makeup, which I'm pretty sure is this, the grease makeup, which is gonna be this, and the scab blood, which is this. So I'm gonna open these up and start with this because this is today's video. And I'm gonna test it on a few different surfaces to see what it'll work best on.
So the surfaces I'm testing it out on are canvas, watercolor paper, miscellaneous piece of paper, and colored pencil paper. I ended up preferring the watercolor paper.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot.
So just like the last video, I'm just speeding through the sketch. I don't find it all that interesting. It's just something you got to get down first, especially if you're me and you need your guidelines. And here's a sneak peek of the reference image for y'all. Using these as a paint on paper felt a lot like a combination of oil pastels and acrylic paint. Very sticky, but very thick. You can actually see here how thick it is. I'm just laying down base color to spread later so that it's more consecutive. I ended up using this red here as an underpainting of sorts to give some more warmth when I go in with the brown later. Then I'm blending that out with the base orange. I am playing with a different editing style versus the speed paint before. So there's parts where I'm cutting in and talking about what I'm doing and the product itself, but for the most part, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the music. I don't have a white in this palette, so I'm doing my best to use yellow as a highlight. And I'm jumping ahead of the game as usual and doing details way too early. If you have pets, you know you find that hair everywhere. Here I'm just trying to carve out more of those grooves, make it look more pumpkin-like. You can see here I'm starting to run out of the yellow. I noticed that, started panicking, and filling in some of that background until I figure out what to do. You can see me reach my brush up to the front of the screen here because I discovered it's washable. I can water it down to blend it out some more, and that became a lifesaver in this piece. Carving out the details with this was so difficult, and it was mostly just because even with a detail brush, this makeup was so thick and gloopy that it kind of took over my brushes and just made even the skinniest brushes thick because of the product itself. I struggled so much with getting crisp edges and clean lines with this, but I ended up actually really liking it at the end. And we finally made it to the top half of the drawing. I'm just doing what I did in the very beginning and filling in the base colors. Here you can see I'm adding a little bit of brown here, just darkening it up a little bit, adding some shadow, making it 3D. As much as I do mention how difficult this was to work with, I genuinely had fun with it, and I really do like the way it came out, all things considered. Could I have done some things better? Obviously, you always can, but I like the way it came out considering the product I used and the time spent on it. Now I'm adding some of that background now that I'm completely out of the yellow. And here I'm noticing that I completely went over the stem to this pumpkin, so I'm just carving it back out with a palette knife. I ran out of yellow, so we're back at Walmart. So this is what I got originally. We ran out of yellow, so I'm happy to get more. $8.64, basically $9. I need more yellow and I'm not buying that whole thing again. It's a very similar yellow. The other one's a little paler. But this is the best I can find, and it's got a white. I'm gonna do a separate, not a separate video, but I'm gonna show what it looks like completed without the white, and then complete it with the white because that kit doesn't have a white, and I want to be true to the kit. So at this point, I'm wondering if it's a completely different product because it feels so thin. Here, I'm just trying to blend that out and realizing that it's only thinner because it's newer and the others had time to oxidize. I did my best to hold off on doing the stems until last so that I didn't blend in with the darker brown. I'm just trying to blend this pumpkin here and give depth without painting over where that stem goes. We are just brightening up those top pumpkins now, showing where the light's hitting, giving them some more dimension. These are going to be the tops, where the light's hitting is going to be the tallest point. I am now just bringing that pumpkin there a little lower down by darkening it and showing what's in front and what's behind. What you see me doing here with my brush is just trying to take enough off to give it a tip because it's so thick. Here I'm trying to add water to smooth out that blend, and I added way too much, so you can see me dabbing it off with a paper towel. Yay, we're finally adding details to that main centerpiece pumpkin. So because I don't want to use the white right away and I want to stay true to the palette, I ended up mixing black with blue so I can give some definition to those darker stems that look more black and still not make it just solid black so it doesn't look two-dimensional. Some of the stems were more brown than black, so here I'm doing some of them in brown, just basing it off of the reference image, and still just coloring them in just with brown instead. So it's a little hard to see here, but what I'm doing is lightly going with brown in some sections so that it looks lighter because I'm not using white. Now we're just sort of finishing off the piece, filling in the background. I will be showing the completed version and then I'll also be showing it with white. Because I finished filling in the background, I can no longer have a place to hold it, so I'm using my palette knife. Here it is completed before white, staying true to palette. Now I'm adding in white and you can see how important the white becomes. I'm just filling in the tops, adding some more detail to the stems, and brightening up where the pumpkins are on the top so you can see where the light hits. And never forget to sign your piece. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to do something artsy.